What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. Guys, this video is just a rant. I am just literally going to rant about the state of Marvel Comics. Now, I don't have a script. I do have a lot of thoughts, so I'm sorry if this is a little disjointed, but I was sitting trying to think of what kind of a video I wanted to do, and the only thing that I could really think of that I thought was kind of prevalent as we move forward into the new year in 2017. Oh, and by the way, Happy New Year, everybody. But I digress. The only thing that I could really think of as far as the state of comics was just how disappointed I am in Marvel in general. And I kind of wanted to explain that, get some of my frustrations out, and see if any of you guys out there agree with me. So here is the thing about Marvel Comics to me. So I don't know if you know this or not, but right now Marvel Comics is in a really bad place. They are in a bad place. Retailers are super angry with them because although there are a lot of Marvel books being sold to retailers, the retailers themselves are not able to move a lot of those books. So they're very angry about that. They were at a place some point last year, it was very early last year, late 2015, where they had more than a 50% market share of comics in general. And everybody was looking at DC and being like, holy cow, what's wrong with DC? DC is on the verge of losing it completely in the Marvel Comics realm. And, you know, Marvel was riding high after the Star Wars comics were really, really big. After The Force Awakens, they rode that wave out for a while. They just seemed to be firing on all cylinders, doing really, really well. Now, a couple of different things happened since then that led to where they're at now, which is a really, really bad place. But I think the first thing that I want to do is kind of talk about a confession of mine. So here is the confession of mine. I drifted away from comics for a long time after I left high school. After I left high school and my early years in college and just, you know, early adulthood or whatever you want to call it, I primarily stopped reading comics. I was aware of what was going on in comics, mostly just due to friends, playing a lot of HeroClix and different things like that. I was aware of what was going on, but I wasn't really reading them. I would occasionally pick up a good run, read something in a graphic novel form or a trade paperback, but I wasn't picking up weekly books. Okay? In 2011, that all changed when I read, I think I picked up a one-shot that was Maximum Carnage, and I got really interested because I saw Kane, who was one of, you know, the villains from the 90s when I was reading Spider-Man, and I saw Kane as the Scarlet Spider. He was really, really cool. He said this line, and he just literally said, "I'm about to show you how much not like Spider-Man I am." It really resonated with me, so I did some research, ended up going back, reading Spider Island, really liking that. And then I read Kane's Scarlet Spider solo run in 2011, written by Christopher Yost, and it was awesome. It brought me back into comics. It felt fresh. It felt like an indie book. If you have not read that run, please go do so. It is really incredible. It's on Marvel Unlimited. I'm sure you can pick it up in trade, order it from your local comic store, do whatever you have to do. From that moment, I got back into comics, and I really fell in love with Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers. That was really good stuff for me. He's a really heady writer, knows how to write superheroes really, really well, has an affinity for these characters. So I really enjoyed that run. That was probably with, you know, just me personally, my favorite 3 years in comics was reading his stuff. And sometimes it would double ship in a month and I didn't care at all. It was awesome. And there were a lot of books, right? Avengers, New Avengers. There was Avengers World, which he did a little bit of. I found it kind of interesting. But I was really into what was going on in Marvel at the time. It was very, very cool. Now, all of that led into Secret Wars. Now, Secret Wars, to me, I remember being at New York Comic Con in 2014 when they announced Secret Wars. And everybody was like, wait, Secret Wars again? Very, you know, kind of confusing. You know, we didn't know really what to expect. This was the first time that Marvel did one of their old events again, like kind of repeating, building off of nostalgia, if you will. Now, the reason they do this, the reason they decided to do this was because the crowd of people that read comics, the people that read comics are actually aging. The comics industry in general has done a terrible job of reaching out to young people. So you have this thing going on right now where the average reader of comics is much older. These are people that have been reading comics for decades. They remember the old Secret Wars. It was fresh to them. So that was like a kind of a marketing ploy, if you will. And I don't know the finer details of it, but this was a story that Hickman was building towards for years. He was very interested in this story. It had been thrown around in editorial retreats many, many times. It was something that he really wanted to do. Also, guys, I don't know if you know this or not, that was his exit of superheroes. Well, maybe not superheroes, but he still hasn't announced his new project that he's working on, which is totally independent. But he left Marvel Comics after Secret Wars, okay? It was his, grand finale, right? And I thought Secret Wars was amazing. I love that run, okay? And there was one more crossover event that he did the year prior, which was called Infinity. And Infinity kind of set some stones or set some things in motion that would lead to Secret Wars as well. I thought Infinity was very dope. Infinity's like Star Wars with Marvel characters. Very, very cool. So basically, here's what killed Marvel Comics for me personally. Secret Wars was all-encompassing. It ended the Ultimates universe. It ended the 616 universe. Only thing that was left in all of Marvel Comics was Battle World. Okay? Now, Battle World and Secret Wars, the main title, was really cool. But some of the tie-ins were absolutely amazing. And they were all treated as kind of standalone things. And although they all took place in Battle World, they were standalone. And they played heavy to nostalgia, right? It's a big thing these days. The Civil War comics that took place on Battle World were amazing. Incredible stuff with alternate versions of the characters that we're kind of familiar with. What Battle World was a ton of Elseworlds. It felt like just a ton of Elseworlds that were kind of tied together, and just a lot of goodness there. But my point is this. As they were ending the run of Secret Wars, Marvel had their whole new lineup, which was post-Secret Wars, ready to go. Now, because the artwork and the scripting and the story of Secret Wars was taking longer than expected, I think the last 2 issues got delayed up to 4 or 5 months or something like that. What happened was Marvel decided they could not wait for Secret Wars to be over, and they started their new line, their post-Secret War line. They started it, they launched it before the conclusion of that story. Now, I was a huge Hickman fan, right? I'm tuned in to Hickman's Avengers, Hickman's stories. I wanted to know what was going on with that story. All of these new books, and I've gone back now and read some of them on Marvel Unlimited. I was not going to read those until I was done with Secret Wars. So there was 4 months of comics there that I just didn't read at all. And as I waited for Secret Wars, now I read Secret Wars, the ending was amazing, absolutely incredible. But then after that, I found it kind of difficult to go back to Marvel and to read these things, right? Now, then, months and months later, as they're into their runs, they're deep into their runs, there are all these things going on, and then it kind of seemed like out of left field, we were starting to build towards Civil War II, another event. Okay, now the reason they do these events and the reason they do these number ones or these new zeros or labeling things and doing all these different things is for money. They do these things to incentivize people to get the books. Now, it's clearly, there are studies out there where people will buy the number ones, the number twos, the number threes, and then they kind of fall off, and then they'll start reading trades. Especially young people. Young people are not into the monthly distribution. Warren Ellis has been saying this since the early 2000s, maybe even earlier, that the comics industry needs to adjust because he comes from, England, and they do things way differently over there. They don't do this monthly thing that we do. They some of them do, but mostly it is a different kind of format, a different kind of distribution. The timetables are different, more completed stories at one time. So the comics industry itself, especially at Marvel, they don't adapt to that. So they have to continuously do straight up gimmicky things. They're gimmicks. They're gimmicks to get people to continue to come back, to buy in, because they really don't, they're going for an instant gratification sale. And they have so much that they're publishing. They're doing so many different things, and they have, kind of weird agendas with their comics that their main concern is not really telling necessarily great stories. And Civil War II, although kind of a cool idea, which is, if you didn't know, is basically Minority Report in the Marvel Universe, a lot of people didn't care for. Now, here's the problem. All of the books that are going on in Marvel in general, all of their books tied in to Civil War II. So you literally could not read Hulk, you couldn't read Thunderbolts, you couldn't read X-Men without understanding what was going on in Civil War II. Now, why do you think they do that? They do that because if you want to know what's going on, you have to go buy these books and read them and be informed. Gimmicky, right? And I talked about this with Comic Uno. This is one of the things that she kind of brought up, where she was frustrated with Marvel and their ploys for money, is I believe the way she worded it. But they do these things, and then the cover price of the zeros or the number ones or the annuals are, sometimes $4.99, $5.99. I mean, can you imagine pulling 6 Marvel books at even $4.99, at $3.99? I mean, it's crazy. And so they do all of these things, these gimmicky things, to bring people in, and it's just not working. Like, the consumers are rejecting this, and what you have right now is this really stale state of affairs. Now, there's a ton of different things going on in comics that lead to this staleness. Like, basically all the Image guys in the 90s, they would create these awesome, dope characters like Liefeld, you know what I mean, creating Deadpool. But the problem is, the creators quickly realized that those were still the property of the company. That as long as they were working for either Marvel or DC, everything they created would be property of the company, meaning like that, the Deadpool movie, although they might have given Liefeld some money, like, he doesn't get the money that Marvel gets. You know what I'm saying? Even though, that's Fox. That's kind of a bad example. But what I'm saying is this. It is literally wiser for them to leave, like, McFarlane. Think about McFarlane, creating characters in Spider-Man, doing awesome things. None of that really helps him out or makes him money. It just makes Marvel more money. So instead, he goes and creates Spawn. Spawn's all his. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the toys, all those shows, the movie, all of that money, and the majority of that goes to him. That is his intellectual property. And so there's no incentive for writers or creators that are working at Marvel or DC to create new interesting characters or new interesting stories, because all of that money is just going to go to the company. Right? So the company itself, the way that it's set up, kind of de-incentivizes creativity. It literally does. Look at some of these people, man. Look at Scott Snyder's independent work compared to his Batman run. And I love his Batman run, but especially towards the end, man, I'm reading AD After Death right now, and that's just brilliant storytelling. Like, it's just great. You know what I mean? And Witch is brilliant, American Vampire, just like, holy cow. Really, really cool stuff. So what I'm saying to you is, there's a big problem at Marvel Comics that they need to address, because I am only pulling, I think, 1 or 2 books at Marvel right now. Civil War II didn't interest me in the slightest. I didn't care. I literally just didn't read Marvel for like 8 months. And I know there's a lot of people like that. Now, conversely, DC, when they were at that stage where Marvel had all the power, they knew they had to make some changes. The New 52, although kind of a success out of the gate, ended up kind of being a detriment to their overall success over time, and that was made kind of clear as numbers went down. So, Jeff Johns kind of takes the reins, gives us Rebirth, and guys, literally ever since Rebirth, I can't believe that I'm saying this, but I am reading twice as many DC books as I am Marvel. And I'm a Marvel guy. I love Marvel. I mean, like, hello, I am a Marvel dude. But the DC books, you know, they're just good, man. And they went back to what they do best and telling great stories. Now, there's some fringe stuff out there, and DC does a good job going after younger people or, you know, doing this and that. But overall, they're just telling great stories. And they're giving me, you know, like, honestly, this Superman right now is the best it's been in a long time. I'm enjoying Superman so much, and all of that continuity, you know, that you don't necessarily even need to know it. You can go into any of these runs, Action Comics or Superman, and have just a base level understanding of who Clark is, which, let's face it, pop culture right now is at a point where you do know some things about Superman. Even if you have never read a comic in your life, even if you've never seen one of these movies, you probably have a baseline peripheral knowledge of what Superman is. You can take just that knowledge, go in to read these books, and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the read, enjoy the story, and feel a straight connection to that character. So they've done a really, really good job of doing that, and I'm really satisfied. What does Marvel need to do, right? Like, how can they turn this around? Well, I don't necessarily have the answer for that, but I think that we all have event fatigue. So they need to stop doing so many events, especially events that are just recycled events from the past. Like, I don't ever want to, if they do another Secret Invasion, like, I'll lose my mind. I don't want to see another event that had already been done. Do something new. And whatever you have to do on the business end to incentivize creators to actually tell great stories and do great work, like, you need to do that. You know what you really should do is hire some new people. I am an independent comic writer, right? When I go to write a book right now, and I know a lot of different people in the community, right? I'm talking about Bob Saley, I'm talking about Kelly Bender, I'm talking about Kevin Cuff, a ton of people that make independent comics. When they write a book, they're putting their blood, sweat, and tears into these books. They're bringing everything they have to the table to write these books. And that's because, like, it just has to do with hunger. Like, they don't have a huge fan base. They don't have, you know, fluffy incentives. They're not riding out a tenure of really great books that they did in the past. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have any of that. So they have to hustle for it. They have to grind. They get in there. They do things for their fans that are really kind of inspirational, new kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that creators that work at Marvel and stuff aren't doing great work, but if you have Charles Soule writing like 13 books a month, I don't care who you are, it is literally impossible for all 13 of those books to be knockouts. It's just impossible. And I guarantee if you ask Charles Soule about that, he will tell you the same exact thing. It just doesn't work like that. Like, you get a name, it's brand recognition. They kind of think that they can sell your name on a book, which to a degree they can. And then when you're sitting there and you have to crank out so many scripts, I mean, how is it literally, how is it possible for you to bring your A game every single time? It's just not going to work. So I think they need to hire new, young, hungry creators. I think they need to let go of this obsession with new number ones, new numbering, and they need to let go of the events. Let's just have some good runs. You know what things like Civil War used to be called? They used to just be called X-Men 851. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just literally just used to be part of the books. And now it all has to be gimmicky and do all these things to get sales. So, you know, that's my rant. I don't know if this video is enjoyable or not, but I was just thinking about what I wanted to do, and this was it. So yeah, that's all I got for today. I'm not even going to do a nerd card thing because I think I'm running way long on this video, but I'm just going to throw this thing up. Please let me know in the comments section, like, what do you guys think? Like, are you fed up with Marvel? Are you not fed up with Marvel? Please go to bat for them. If you want to defend the things that are going on, if you're really enjoying the books that are going on right now, let me know. I'd love to have a discussion about this. Is there a good book I'm missing out on? You know, love to know about that. So that's all I've got for now. I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. See you.